Welcome to the Born Wild podcast. This space is for birth workers, parents, and families. Anyone drawn to a more honest, intuitive way of living, birthing, and growing. Here we have real conversations, learn through reflection and community, and make room to explore without judgment. Because at the end of the day, we are all born wild. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Born Wild podcast. I'm your host, Sophia Henderson. And today I have with me Larissa, who's going to introduce herself.
Yeah. Hi. I'm so glad to be here, Sophia. My name's Laurisa Paul. I'm a registered nurse and a mom of 5 and a passionate advocate of midwifery and girls understanding their bodies. And I'm here to talk about what we're doing to improve birth, like way upstream today.
Yeah, this is really exciting for me because I've always had this thought like, well, okay, what happened? Girls start their cycle and then are like, what? And maybe their parent says, you should go to an OB or a gynecologist. And so then that's where their journey begins. And so then when they are pregnant, that's who they go back to. A lot of people don't know that midwives will do well women care and educate, but I love that your piece is even well before that. And learning about your body, a lot of women, or girls, women, by the time they start their cycle, they have no idea what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we dive into the actual program and all that, can you go way back? How did you even end up doing this work?
Yes, I would love to tell you. When I was a girl, I was a girl that didn't know. So I didn't understand my body. I actually, in my later teen years, really struggled with body image and carried a lot of that into my young adult years. Started having babies and still really struggled with just accepting my body and making peace with it. And I focused a lot on how it looked and became kind of obsessive about it. And I ended up spending a lot of time in therapy and took myself there because when I turned 30, I decided enough is enough. I don't know why I struggle so hard with this, and I don't want to do it my whole life. So I just marched myself into therapy and sat down and was like, help, I don't understand what's going on. And it was the best thing I ever did because I changed, I transformed. I was there for 4 years, worked on so much stuff, and came out of it just deeply passionate about girls having a different experience than I had, having any kind of awareness about what their body does and what it is and how inspiring it is. And I think that if girls knew, they would just respect themselves a lot more. And so that's like a big part of my passion. But secondly, I went into childbirth really uneducated. I was really young when I had my first baby, and I didn't actually know anything. I just assumed you go to the hospital and they take great care of you and you come back with your baby.
That was my same assumption.
Really?
Yeah, when I became a doula. And a lot of people were wanting to become a doula because they had traumatic births and wanted to help educate people. And I didn't have babies at the time. And I was like, wait, I thought you went in, it was the best day ever.
It's a traumatic birth.
Yeah, I had no idea how trauma could even insert itself into that experience. Yeah. And I knew I was like, well, I want babies. I don't want that to be my story.
Yeah. And went into it really blind and ended up. So how I describe my birth is it was a very traditional hospital birth. I had a lot of interventions. I just assumed they all needed to be done and said yes every time, and came out feeling like everybody would have said I had a great birth, but I came out feeling really like I was run over by a truck, to be honest. Like, what was that? Because I had an episiotomy and I had forceps and I labored forever on my back and I was medicated and it was hard. I feel like I entered motherhood in this just pretense of that's what motherhood is. Like, you just suffer and eventually you come out of it with something better, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I can imagine this correlates to periods and all that, where you're like, this is our lot in life. It's pretty much horrible and we just got to deal.
Oh my gosh. Yes. It's like that same message of, I guess this is it.
Yeah.
And accept it. Right. And so it didn't really resonate that that was wrong. It just felt like, okay.
And I'm not even there yet, but I'm sure that also trickles into menopause and all that, where it's like, sorry, this is the other side of the torture that you
just continue to suffer. Like, you're a girl. So
Yeah.
saying that even just gives me goosebumps now because it's so not what I believe, but so
But most
painful.
people, that's like what
So
they feel, and
painful.
it's like then the next stage just solidifies it for them,
Yeah.
you know? Whereas if they, like,
Well,
started to think it could be different, it's like, no, you know, it's kinda gonna be
yeah.
the same.
Just buckle up because
Yeah.
it's all about suffering, and
Mm.
it's so crazy because, like, you and I both know it's so different. It's vastly opposite actual truth of knowing what it means to be a woman and
Mhm.
feminine power and what that even means and looks like, and
Yeah. And I
it
feel like the birth culture is slowly starting to get shooken awake, and with the social media and stuff, and people can have access to things they might not have been able to access easily. And then I think because women are reshaping their birth, that is slowly starting to trickle into the whole menopause story. But you're like, let's go back to the very beginning and not have to learn it in our traumatic birth, to have
Mhm.
our redemptive next birth.
Yeah, and for me, it was such a slow process because I have 5 kids, but, like, that first one, I was very young, uneducated, pretty standard hospital birth. Took a lot of time for me to recover. I ended up, like, getting an infection, and I didn't even know I wasn't supposed to have an infection. I didn't know that wasn't normal, and then my second birth, we had a planned scheduled induction, and that was scheduled around my nursing clinicals because I was in nursing school. I worked a 12-hour clinical, and then we scheduled his birth that night, and I was supposed to be back at my next clinical the next week. Like, it's a Tuesday clinical, we'll go. And so fascinating experience to have a scheduled induction. I think it went swimmingly according to what a birth professional would say, but for me, I had this baby. I hardly even participated at all because I was so medicated. I basically slept and then put in the Pitocin and induced the labor, and I had a baby. And next thing I knew, I was like holding a baby in my arms. Had very little to do with the process, and I felt a loss. Like an intuitive knowing that it's not supposed to be like that.
Even
But
though everyone's saying it's torture, it's better to just not be a part of it, you know?
yeah, it gives me goosebumps because I remember where I was sitting holding him when I felt inside like it's not supposed to be like that. I'm supposed to be a participant here.
Well, it's the
And I
same with our
wasn't.
cycles. We're like, take drugs or take medication to just skip it altogether. You don't want to be a
Pretend like it
part of them.
doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. That was interesting because I still didn't know anything about birth, but it was just a knowing that this is not supposed to be this way.
Yeah.
And then a couple years later, when I was in nursing school, before my third, I was in my maternal newborn class, and we're learning about standard childbirth and the procedures and all the interventions and tons of medications. And someone in the back of the room, I remember exactly who she was and where she was sitting because she raised her hand and said, just have to say this because I think it deserves a seat at the table. I had a baby last year without any of these interventions, and my body birthed this baby in its own power, and it was a life-changing experience. And
Oh, I just got goosebumps.
right?
Yeah.
And I was like, I had never heard of that. I had never had any kind of exposure to someone saying that childbirth could be enjoyed or that it could leave you better after. I just wasn't around that kind of community, and I didn't have any kind of access. So her saying that felt like time stopped. It felt like that message was for me. I don't know anything about what she's talking about, but I have to listen and know more. And so the next time I was pregnant, I was already out of nursing school, and I called her and was like, I don't know what you were talking about in school that day, but I need to know what I'm supposed to do and how I can learn. And it's like crazy because I was out of nursing school. I had already got my RN, and I still didn't even know the beginnings of physiologic birth and trusting my body.
You
And
knew
it,
how to manage it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I knew all
Uh,
the medications and all the side effects that we could be looking for, but she had to tell me where to go to just start learning about my own body and birth physiology and how it was made to work. And so I took some Bradley classes, and I remember all this like power just returning to me in my life where I felt like, why have I not known this? Why have I like not actually known my body was trustworthy? And
yeah.
my
And like, why aren't they teaching me this? Why are they saying my education's complete? You know?
What? I'm a nurse. I have no idea about any of this.
Yeah. Because everyone coming to you thinks your education's complete, you know?
Yeah. Right. That's what's so fascinating. Nothing about my education prepared me for what I do now, except that it taught me everything about how I want it to be better. The next time I was pregnant, gratefully, because I still was young and I still didn't have all the insight I do now, but I had a doctor that basically said, she knows what she's doing, leave her alone. And so even though I was in a hospital, even though I didn't know as much as I do now, I was given the space to just give birth. I didn't have a single intervention. He didn't even put an IV in. I didn't have anything that felt invasive, which to me was a huge, huge deal to actually prove to myself this could work. Like my body could give birth on its own. That day, I have to say, just was 17 years ago because my boy just turned 17 yesterday.
Wow.
I was not the same person before and after that happened. It was like, here I was like doing this thing. I was mostly just wanting to do it because I wanted to not have all the medications and I didn't want the side effects. And I was more educated now, but I had no idea how birthing him would launch me into a different realm of existing. You know, it was a beautiful birth and I labored hard and I had him. And I remember just feeling like that was the most incredible thing I've ever done. And I know how powerful I am. It's not a secret anymore.
You felt like you did it when all the other times you felt like you were hardly even there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was so shocked. And you know, because you've seen this over and over in women, but it just like, I had no idea that was what birth could be.
Yeah.
And then after, couldn't stop thinking about it and couldn't get myself out of it. And ended up working with a midwife as her assistant. And I got to go to lots of home births and see, oh, this happens lots of times. This isn't just me. Like, maybe that was just me.
You're like, should we contact Guinness Book of World Records?
Yeah, I'm actually the most powerful person in the world. Didn't you know? Yes, that's how I felt. But seeing again and again, like, no, this is women's experience. They get to touch like who they are and what it means to be a woman when they get to experience birth.
Yeah. And the path you choose sets you up on your trajectory to either be like, who's the professional here? What do I need to do for the rest of your life? Or like, I've got this. Help me if I need it, but I've got this. And then you just go to that professional as you need them versus like, I don't know if my child is well, you know, the whole like, well,
Yes.
they could just branch off into so many areas of your life where you're like, I can't be trusted. I don't have the credentials.
Oh my God. That is such a huge point. And back to what we talked about in the beginning, suddenly everything was different with mothering. It was like, wait, motherhood isn't about suffering. Like, changed my whole paradigm. Motherhood's about wisdom inside of me and knowing what's right for my children. And I was just not a different person after that. I was passionately alive and just knew that I needed to do something in this work. I worked with a midwife for a while, and that was such a life-changing experience. And then I had a baby at home. His birth was really hard. It surprised me because it came off of like this orgasmic, blissful birth I had just had. And then I have this one at home, and I had expectations that it would be even more, everything over the moon. And it ended up being really hard. He had a funky presentation and a really tight nuchal cord and just stuff that made it sort of traumatic for me. And I, in reflection, was so blessed and grateful to have been at home and to have been with a midwife where I felt like I actually could listen to that intuitive voice and we could follow and trust me, because I know it would have ended up very different if I was somewhere else. So
Yeah, it can still be so unpredictable. And
yeah,
and I think I hope that people slowly learn that the point of life is to surround yourself with people who believe in you, but you can brainstorm with if you're like, what's going on? This is what I feel. What do you think? And have got your back and some tools and training.
yeah. And in hindsight, I'm so grateful for the experience because it gave me so much empathy for the broad spectrum of what birth is and what women get
And that it
sick.
doesn't mean, oh, if you stay home, it all goes smoothly, and not like a guarantee or a promise. Because there's that whole talk about like proven pelvis, like have your first baby in the hospital. And then if it goes well, then all the others will go swimmingly. It doesn't work that way necessarily.
Right. Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, I guess I can go from there, like where I progressed, or do you have any questions?
Yeah, I'm curious about that. And I don't want to forget to ask about, because the whole focus is on educating about how our bodies work. And I'm curious how your company and you as a nurse, if you work with people directly, because I feel like this is something that I work with too. How, as a professional, not take the power away from the woman, how to show up with that knowing in a supportive way without then becoming the hierarchy in the room and playing the same role that a doctor would play in the hospital, but just in your home.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that you just brought that up. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So in alignment with what we do at Girls Who Know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I ended up kind of getting out of birth work for a few years because I was homeschooling my kids. I still am.
Mhm. So what are their ages?
Okay, so right now, those 4 boys that I just told you about their birth are 21, 19, 17, and 14. Yeah.
And so
Right.
you said 4 boys, so you had a girl.
Yeah. I had a girl. My daughter's 9, and having a girl has been so amazing and
I
life
have
changing.
9.
For real?
I have a 10-year-old boy and a 9-year-old daughter.
How awesome.
Yeah.
And I was deep in homeschooling, and like I knew it's almost like this passion just went on simmer for a little bit because life was so full, and but I wasn't really tapped in anywhere. And I had a sister-in-law who had a C-section in states away from me. I didn't even live near her. But I knew that she was young, and I knew that she was uneducated, and just the fact that she had a C-section and it was just a simple series of events that led to it kicked my butt. Like, what are you doing? You're not doing anything to change the story, and you have information that could really heal women and girls. And her having that C-section just made me really pull off this, like, what am I hiding? I have to be doing something to improve birth. And I didn't really know what that was yet. And I became an instructor for evidence-based birth for a little while, which was powerful for me to see that, okay, there's ways and means that I can teach classes. And then we had COVID hit, and was a good break for me to pause and be like, what do I actually really want to do? And pulling from all these life experiences that I had, this deep passion for girls knowing their bodies and this deep passion for the better experience in childbirth. I knew it was like, we got to get with the girls. We have to get in front of girls and give them a chance for what I didn't have. Like, just give them a chance to know that they can trust their bodies and that their bodies are doing good things for them. And that's what I started doing. I remember the moment I was on a phone call with one of my best friends and playing over, like, I don't know what I want to do professionally. And I have this degree, but I struggled sometimes to be in the medical world. And I told her, all I really want to do is just like teach girls, just be around girls and help them, inspire them, help them tune into their bodies. And she said, well, why don't you do that? Then from that moment on, I haven't stopped thinking about it since. That was 5 years ago. And we just had so much power and energy flowing into this in the beginning. It was so beautiful to see how it was born and all of the unseen forces that were helping this become a thing in the world.
Yeah. Did it always look the way it did, or did it start like a group in your living room? And was it always going to be online? Tell us a little bit about the stages of the program, what it is now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the beginning, it was a group of girls in my
I
living
was picturing
How
you
did
like,
you know? That's exactly what it was.
because you kind of have to test the theory out. Like, are people even wanting this information? Like, too much effort into it.
Yes. Yeah, I was like, I think this will help girls come alive, but I got to try it out. So I gathered a group of 20-year-old girls. I was fascinated to start with a grown girl, but that isn't having babies yet, hasn't really started that part of her life yet. But what does she think about learning all about childbirth? And I asked them to come to my house like once a week for, I don't know, a couple months. And I just started like talking to them. Did you know this and this and this and this about your body? Did you know this and this and this? Really like informal though, and stress-free. Was really just me like, I have all this stuff inside of me. Do you want to know it?
Yeah.
And they were like, loving it. They were like, we don't ever have any place to learn this. Like, why don't women have anywhere?
I have another question. I keep interrupting you.
Yeah.
Was this specifically about childbirth, or were the concept of tracking your fertility and knowing your cycle?
I remembered that part of my awareness coming during the time I was working with that midwife. I remember grasping onto, wait, I have a cycle that's moving. Here I have lots of babies, and I had never done that. But I led with childbirth. I was just curious, like, can we teach childbirth before it's actually happening? Before someone's pregnant, are they interested? And then in that same time frame, I took this presentation into high schools. And I got the opportunity and met a few teachers. They let me come into their health classes, and I taught childbirth in high schools, like physiology of birth and how magical it is with this undertone of being inspiring. And these kids just ate it up. High school kids were just like starving for this, raising their hands with brilliant questions, stuff they'd never been able to ask anyone. And I could answer all their questions about real birth, like what it's really like. And those two experiences, having the circles and then taking it into high school and having the kids light up. I'm not even kidding. Kids on the edge of their seats and having me be there and very much like, I love this part of life, is just opens them to be able to like, okay, let's talk about it. There's not as much fear around it. It's beautiful. And it's such a integration of all of my life experiences. So then we do add in the element of the cycle and how inspiring, how that can change how a girl actually sees her body. It's about so much more than what shape it is and what clothes she's wearing. And in the beginning, I did a lot of that in Girls Who Know, and it's kind of refined itself down now to these 3 groups. So what we do is host these circles, these same types of circles, but we do it online. And so we did it all through COVID, which was so beautiful because girls from everywhere could come. And it was in the beginning a little uncomfortable that it was an online circle. But now I'm so thankful that we had to do it online because our reach is huge. Literally doesn't matter where a girl lives. She can come join us. And we do 3 different age groups. So like 10 to 13-year-olds are the first. And they get a lot of practicing mindfulness. And did you know your body's talking to you? There's like wisdom inside of you that you can tap into. And then beginning awareness about the cycle. Like, you are a part of nature, and all the cycles in nature that happen, you have one that will happen soon in your body. So they get a little dripping of what the older girls get. The 14 to 17-year-olds get that stuff, but deeper. And they also get the inspiring childbirth portion. And then there's a class for grown girls, like 18 plus, what you need to know, what you have to navigate if you're going to choose to have a baby, what are your options and how your choices will affect what you want down the road, and cycle awareness.
Do you have a 4th for menopause yet?
Right? I keep getting asked that. I'm almost there too.
Yeah.
I'm 41 and my friends are all in this circle, and then it's time for us to take on our own education like we have for all the other things. But no, it doesn't exist yet.
Yeah. And so your daughter's 9. She probably knows, but she hasn't started the course yet.
No, I have found that with her age, like 8, 9, 10-year-old girls, it's so fun to just start planting the seeds of like, you have eggs inside that are sleeping right now. They're just sitting there sleeping. And one day they're going to wake up and start this beautiful cycle. And so she's just waiting for that day, like, yay, this is going to start happening.
Yeah.
But our classes officially start at 10.
I love it. So amazing.
I have to tell you, it took a lot of years. Like, I've been doing this for 5 years. I learned in the beginning, oh, they're little girls. They need to play. I can't just sit here and be like, let's have a lesson. Natural cycle. And so we've incorporated like games and drawing activities and mindfulness things. And then, a little lesson about the cycle. And it's just really multi-layered, and the girls love it so much. They love the other girls that are in class with them because they keep coming back. They come once a week for a month. The same girls, they make friends. They always tell me when it's over that they don't want it to be over. Sweetest. They're like, can we keep coming, please?
I'm so cute. So it's 4 sessions once a week for a month. Then what? They wait until they're in the next age group?
Well, I actually recommend they come every year because I've had multiple girls return the next year, and it's fascinating to see how, because they are so different, everything lands differently with them. They have so much more context, and their questions are really aligned because now they get it. They get what we were talking about. So that's my hope, is that they just keep coming as they're growing. And then by the time they're grown girls, they just feel so confident in navigating their life, their own intuition. And then I guess let's talk about that, because you
I
asked
was
me.
going to say, I would love to dive into that.
That's so important to me. And I love that you said you want to talk about that, because it could easily get turned to, okay, I had this really bad experience at my births or whatever. So now you have to know that you have to give birth in this kind of way. And it's never, ever been about that for me. The objective is that girls are inspired by their own body, their own intuition, their own knowing that they can make decisions for their self, their lives, and that they can trust that. And so we are really intentional about never telling a girl what she needs to do or should do life at all. It's about tuning in and practicing listening to their own knowing and making decisions from that place. So in the older girls class, we actually talk about what is informed consent and what does it mean to actually be informed? What does that look like? And what's the role of the provider in that process? And what's your role? Because it's as equally as important. And so I hope that anyone that would ever trust us with their girls, I say us because it's grown now. It's not just me doing these classes, which is so beautiful. We have 5 mentors across 5 different states classes, and all of us are very united. We would never tell their girl what they were supposed to be doing. It would be always about trusting their own self. And who would I ever be to say what this girl should do in future life? How would I ever know that? That's ridiculous.
A couple things were popping into my head. I was just talking to a girlfriend about this, the idea that there could be one person you're like, I trust what this person says, but they could be a totally different person in 10 years, So why do you trust it? And that always goes back to, that doesn't make sense to me. Or the opposite, where I'm like, oh, that makes sense to me. I can't prove any of this of why it's right or wrong to me, but in my body, that does not feel like that is truth for me. But that's hard to stand on 2 feet and say and feel like you're going to get laughed at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where is there a place where girls are hearing that matters? What you just felt matters. Pay attention, trust it.
We talk a lot about intuition versus fear, because those can be really confusing and hard to differentiate. And I feel how it showed up for me is my intuition has always been one word, matter of fact, no emotion around it, no story. And fear has always been a big story, a lot of dialogue. I'm bawling, I feel anxious, I have all these emotions. I could talk about it for hours. I have to remind myself, this is not my intuition. This is a story I've created. I could create a million of them. But whenever my intuition has showed up, it's been like, no, don't do that. My son is a frequent flyer to the hospital. He's got a lot of health stuff. And I remember the first time it showed up for me was when they wanted to give him albuterol to see if on top of his lung defect, he also had asthma. They're like, next time he's sick, give him albuterol. And my body was like, no. But I know so many people that take albuterol. This is not a new drug or something. And I gave it to him, and it was his first helicopter ride. That's how we found out he has bronchial malaise, because instead of relaxing his airway, it collapsed his airway. And so I remember being like, I'm never ignoring that again. And there's been times where I've canceled surgeries. They're elective. It's not like an emergency, where I'm just like, we're not going today. I don't know why. Maybe we were going to get a car accident. I have no idea, but I just got to trust it. And then it's hard because sometimes you sit with was that the right call? I don't know why I said no to that. I just have to trust it.
Yes. But that distinction is actually really helpful. Thank you for sharing that. That distinction between clear, concise no and all the chatter that's like, what if, I don't know that.
I did that with COVID because he has heart and lung disease. Stayed up till 5 a.m. just crying and was like, well, he's going to get it and he's going to die. And then I'll have to isolate for 2 weeks and grieve alone. I did the whole story, and I was like, girl, this is not your intuition. Calm down. Yeah. Is there something you feel like you're not doing to support him? Let's go in that direction. What could you be doing more that will help your nervous system feel settled? And he got COVID. It was like a cold, it was nothing. So it wasn't true for him. But that's what was going to happen.
That's cool though.
Yeah, but when that fear comes in, it's so big, it can feel
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, I have to follow this. This is my body talking to me. I gotta listen to it."
I love that.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
thank you for that.
yeah, and that would be so good for our girls to start paying attention
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, right. The difference between the 2 is a big deal, and I don't think I've had a way to describe it. So, thank
Yeah.
you.
What's that movie, Inside Out? The second one with the anxiety? I loved their portrayal of her, that she really did have the character's best interest at mind. That was
Yeah.
her way of showing up to protect her, and it
Yeah.
got out of control, you know? Yeah.
Yes, I love that too. Such a huge fan.
Oh, beautiful. Well, will you please tell people who are interested how they can find you? How could they support their girls and or even themselves?
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to. So, girlswhoknow.com is the first place to go just to see more about what we're about and what the offerings are. We have a big need for financial support. What our vision would be for the future is that we can all go into schools, local schools, like I did, and like other mentors are doing currently, but not getting paid. It's the most powerful thing because we can get and spend a day in a school and reach over 100 kids just one day.
Yeah.
But
Well,
we
is it
need
5th grade when they do, like, health ed or whatever? Or what they consider health ed?
right. Yeah, I'd like to totally revamp the maturation program. That's what I'd like to do, but if we in the meantime, we can just go in and teach this in some because all maturation programs focus on how to deal with being a girl,
Yeah.
and I hate that message, right? It's not something to deal with. Like, let's actually figure out what it means to be a girl and how inspiring that is, and then we can figure out what kind of tampon we wanna use. That's so secondary.
Yeah.
But I hate that that's the focus, like,
Mm.
there's gonna be all these annoying problems now, and here you're gonna have to figure out how to deal with them. So I do wanna revamp that, but right now, let's just go in and actually give a counter message and help the boys, because in high schools, boys get to hear too, and boys get to come alive about being inspired about their bodies, and I have one mentor out in LA that's really doing that right now. She's put together something that integrates the boys also, and she just keeps going and teaching, and last year she taught, like, over 650 kids.
Wow.
She's not getting paid.
Aw.
I'm like, "It's time. We need the funding." I want a grant that can start paying women all over the country to go into their local high schools and just change the narrative. So, that's the biggest for me, that's what I'd like to ask, call for, like, supporters. Where can we find people who can support this important work? And bring the girls, because we have lots of classes ready right now for girls of all ages. So you can find us on social media too. Official Girls Who Know is the Instagram, but girlswhoknow.com is the main place.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing your story. I think the work you're doing is so important. When you were sharing your journey, I just kept getting these, like, waves of goosebumps, and
Mhm.
yeah, it's
Thank you.
important.
I know and you know that a girl who knows her power influences infinite people in her life. Like, women are so influential. All the people that we come in contact with, we influence. And I just feel like it's going to change everything if girls can grow up trusting themselves and standing a little differently in their posture to inspire goodness in the world and wholeness and things that we all want for our world and our who we are.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you
So
again.
thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Born Wild podcast. Find us on Instagram or email bornwildpodcast@gmail.com. If this episode supported you, please share it and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It'll help more families find us. This podcast is for education and storytelling only and is not medical or individualized health advice. And as always, stay wild.